What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So I gotta be honest, I've actually been trying to make a video about some theories for the upcoming champion for like the last 3 champions now, because every time I try to make the video, the champion themselves actually end up getting announced like right as I'm about to release it. So since we've got a couple of hints already, after Ivern's release was pretty recent as well, so I really wanted to just get in early and try and take a look and speculate at what League's next champion is going to be. And if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like button and let's begin. So the biggest hint we have so far is definitely something from Riot Ghostcrawler, who has said that the current champions that are being developed are generally just a little bit more straightforward based on how you use them, but also still have a ton of depth on what they do. And in specific, Riot Ghostcrawler was referring to 2 upcoming champions, one of which was Ivern, the other of which will be the next champion. So they aren't designed to be beginner champions. You know, the low mechanical barrier to entry doesn't mean that they're going to be basic or boring. It just means that they're going to offer something totally new, you know, something that really does some really cool and crazy and different, especially strategic choices. And so Ivern, of course, was one of those 2 champions being talked about here, but the other one is almost certainly going to be the next release, and Riot Ghostcrawler himself said he was constantly amazed with what the champion design team comes up with, which again means that the next champion is going to have some of their own new and super unique mechanics for sure. We saw that a lot with Ivern, and we can definitely expect something similar in the next upcoming champion. You know, for a really long time, Riot have been designing champions with like really overloaded kits, or just packed with maybe a little bit of reused designs in favor of thematics, or, you know, stuff that are like really complex mechanically. And one thing they really wanted to achieve with Ivern was to kind of sort of step away from that sort of design philosophy, kind of move back to when champions had, you know, they had one signature ability that just set them apart from the rest, and then putting most of that champion's power budget between that signature spell along with their ultimate, and then you have the rest of their abilities kind of just be filler that flow with the rest of the kit. And as a result, that way it's not really a problem if the other abilities aren't as insane, because the signature ability gives some, you know, some really solid depth to their design, and the ultimate makes sure that they're still super impactful. Probably the most obvious example of a design like this would be someone like maybe Blitzcrank. You know, he has his rocket grab as a really signature ability, his ultimate as a really powerful effect, you know, it's this bursty low cooldown area of effect silence, and then the rest of his entire kit is kind of just a lot more simple. You know, there's a move speed buff, there's like a small knockup, and some defensive passive, and even though 2 of Blitzcrank's abilities are on just a total nother level compared to the others, he still really works out as a champion because his entire playstyle gets built around rocket grab and giving him the opportunity to cripple an enemy team with a really nice hook, and overall it results in a pretty fun champion. And Ivern was a champion designed with this design philosophy in mind, you know, having a really cool signature ability, a pretty solid ultimate, and then the rest of his abilities kind of just being cool or interesting, not necessarily being all that powerful. And we know for a fact that the next champion after Ivern will be designed in the same way, and that means that we're probably going to get one crazy cool new mechanic, a really sweet ultimate to go along with it, and then some more simple spells that will synergize with those mechanics. So let's take a look at the hints we have about what that actual kit might end up looking like. Now, on Ghostcrawler's Q&A on Reddit 2 weeks ago, he received a question from a user named Ubergiants who asked if we were likely to see a jungler that was a roaming support who could maybe give temporary buffs to laners or get charges for each camp killed that they could then consume by restoring mana to a health or to an ally. So the core idea was for a jungler that was strategic to play without needing to be particularly effective in combat themselves. Ghostcrawler responded with just the simple answer of yes, which led of course to a ton of people speculating that the user Ubergiants had correctly guessed the design for the upcoming champion, and when Ivern was announced, you know, it made a lot of sense that he had actually speculated on that. But the thing is, you know, I originally thought that Ghostcrawler was referring to Ivern, but the thing is that that's not the final piece of the puzzle actually. So funnily enough, I actually tweeted out this screenshot about this speculation, thinking that Ghostcrawler had been teasing Ivern on Reddit a week before the announcement with this answer, but Ghostcrawler himself replied to me and he said that he wasn't actually referring to Ivern at all with his reply in this specific scenario. He was thinking about a different champion, an Earth Mage who could grow walls that Riot had been experimenting with. Now that's not to say it's really likely that Riot would choose to release 2 junglers one after another, unless they really want to shake up that role a bit, but an Earth Mage that grows walls, that sounds like a super unique mechanic for a signature ability to us for sure. And looking at the champion's schedule, it's actually likely that the next champion, if I had to guess, is going to be a support, and it's very possible that this Earth Mage champion ended up being changed into more of a support character instead of a jungler, and overall it's something that could definitely be coming in the future. We've known for a while that Riot have been experimenting with new terrain sort of creating abilities, like for example a version of Sion's Q during his rework where he could trap an enemy with temporary terrain before slamming down with his axe, and of course as we saw with Talia, mages are a really cool way to pull off this sort of terrain creation concept, but hers is more of like a zone control ability rather than actually redesigning the map. And if we have a champion that can grow new bushes, maybe a champion that can extend or just flat out grow new walls of Summoner's Rift isn't all that far-fetched at all as the next champion coming to the game. And the overall concept of creating permanent alterations to map terrain is something that Riot Ghostcrawler has referred to as a mechanic that he would really like to see be introduced into the game. And it would definitely introduce some really crazy new strategies, depending on how you could grow the walls, how long they lasted. Maybe the only place that it's unlikely for a player to be able to place walls would be maybe in like the lane, since really big walls you could kind of just let players stop creeps in their tracks, building up this huge wave, kind of doing some weird stuff with the minions at least. And overall, at the very least, walls placed in lanes would almost certainly be temporary, but these permanent alterations to map terrain is something that Riot has been trying to take a stab at for a really long time actually. And if it's not permanent, it definitely could be balanced overall, making it so that you can place new terrain, or perhaps on the alternative, take terrain away from the map would be something that would be really cool, and is something that Riot's definitely tried very hard to make work, and is something that we're almost certainly going to see in the future, if not on the very next champion as well. There's a lot of other ways for this sort of terrain building or terrain altering sort of concept to work. Maybe it's not going to be on the Earth Mage sort of character, maybe that sort of concept was redesigned a little bit, but there's really just all sorts of stuff you can do with it. It would be a very interesting alternative for a character that could bounce skill shots off of walls. Maybe you have the character that could bounce a skill shot from the Earth Mage's kit that lands on the terrain that you generate himself, or maybe on just walls that already exist in the map. And Riot could also totally make it work with like a wind wall sort of ability that instead of deleting projectiles, just kind of ricochets them back at enemies and turns the own projectiles against them almost in a sense. And that sort of projectile that bounces off terrain is another sort of ability that Riot have been trying to make work for quite a while now. And maybe that sort of design in specific would be a little bit broken, but it would be ridiculously fun to play, and if there's one excuse for releasing a broken mechanic, it's something that's ridiculously fun to play with. Imagine just summoning a wall in front of you, just as a powerful ultimate like Jinx's rocket starts flying at you, and you just bounce it back at the enemy team, and you score a kill with it, and that is just so awesome. There's no guarantee that even Riot decides that this sort of wall bouncing ability concept works though. There's not really a way of knowing 100% for sure if the Earth Mage is going to do anything like that, but it is a really cool concept, and it's a really unique mechanic, and it's a pretty interesting hint at what could possibly be the next champion from Riot Ghostcrawler, so who knows what's going to happen for sure. Anyway, that's just our guesses, our speculation so far, our theories on what the next champion is going to be. We've got a couple of things that are confirmed, a couple of things that are a little bit more speculatory, but overall, it's really awesome to see Riot drop these like little hints here and there, because it really gets you thinking, guessing about what's missing in League, what kind of champions could this game use, what kind of stuff could we see come in the future, and overall it's really awesome to see and play with new champions in the game especially. So definitely let us know in the comments below what you think the next champion could look like. Either way, looks like that's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.